I am Bhrgu. Of utterances, I am the single syllable Om. Of offerings, I am the offering of silent meditation, and of unmovable things, I am the Himālaya. In this verse, Shri Krishna describes four of his vibhutis, divine manifestations. Shri Krishna begins by saying that of the Maharishi, the great sages, he is Bhrgu. If we look at the Maharishi, the great sages, according to the Puranas, then the Maharishis, great sages, are sons of the mind of Brahmaji. If you want their simple meaning, then you can say that those who are Mahan, great rishis, are Maharishi, great sages. Who is Mahan, great? Those who are omnipresent and yet right in front of the eyes are Mahan, great. This is the definition of the word Mahan, great. He who is omnipresent and yet right in front of your eyes. He pervades everywhere and yet he is still with us. This is Mahan, great. If you wish to get the characteristic meaning of the word, then you can say that a Mahan, great person is one who has, for example, become wealthy, powerful, beautiful, famous, knowledgeable, etc. But you will always see that the more that the person becomes so-called bigger, then the more distant he becomes. I remember a 5-line poem of Bhupendrabhai very much. He writes that the two friends studying with me at school, then time went on, and each of us were living different ways of life. Suddenly one friend became so big, and yet he became so distant. We see this in society, but who is a Mahan, a great person? It is one who feels close. It is one who feels close with his time, and who feels close with his feelings. There is an importance in these relationships. No matter if you meet after 5 years or 10 years, but when you meet them after 5 or 10 years, then it should feel as if you met them yesterday. His feeling of bigness should not be displayed in a relationship. This is Mahanta, greatness. There are so many people who are such that they have nothing, and yet they keep displaying themselves as something big. They keep saying that I am that, I am that. A truly Mahan, great person will not display his bigness in a relationship, however wealthy, powerful, etc. he is. One who is omnipresent and yet in front of us is Mahan, great. The spiritual definition of a Maharishi, great sage, is one who has attained and who knows in truth the supreme truth and the supreme secret that cannot be grasped by the intellect. Mahanakam Rishanti iti Maharashya. One who knows the Mahan, great, is a Maharishi, great sage. One who knows the supreme truth is a Maharishi, great sage. According to our Puranas, there have been 10 Maharishis, great sages. Number 1, I'm going to list them. Bhrgu. Number 2, Marichi. Number 3, Atri. Number 4, Angira. Number 5, Pulaha. Number 6, Kritu. Number 7, Manu. Number 8, Daksha. Number 9, Vashishta. Number 10, Pulasta. These are the 10 Maharishi, great sages. Of these, Shri Krishna says that Bhrgu is his vibhuti, divine manifestation. There is a reason for this. Why did Shri Krishna say in this 10th chapter that out of the Maharishis, Bhrgu is his vibhuti, divine manifestation? The very first reason for this is that Bhrgu is greatly intelligent and wise, but the unique thing about him is that in Bhrgu's lineage, there have been many rishis, many visionaries of mantras, and creators of lineages. This is what is unique about Bhrgu, and this is what happened in his lineage. Bhrgu married Daksha's daughter, Tapi, and they had 2 sons named Yata and Vidata, and 1 daughter named Shri. Shri married Narayan, and they became Lakshmi Narayan. When we say Shri Krishna, Shri represents the goddess Lakshmi, who married Lord Narayan. The great teacher of Ayurveda, Chevan Rishi, was a son of Bhrgu. All of Bhrgu's progeny were great. I read earlier that wherever there is something great, the Supreme Soul says that this is his vibhuti, divine manifestation. That is why, of the Maharishi great sages, the Lord is Bhrgu. Shri Krishna says that of utterances, he is the Ekam Aksharam, the single syllable. Who knows what this is? What is the single syllable that he mentions? It is the Pranav mantra, or the Om. The word Gira is used for utterances. The word Gira comes from the word Gihi. In this, the letter G comes from Ganpati, Lord Ganesh, and the word Dirga has a silent end to make Giri. The meaning of Gira is a speech, but the meaning of Giri is a word that gives some meaning. This is because there can be many words. We can use words together such as the dog is barking. These are words and they make a sound. But words that give some meaning are called Gihi. There are these differences in words. One is just an utterance, and the other is a word or speech. If there is a young child and the child first learns how to speak, then the child makes all sorts of noises, just we cannot tell the meaning of what the young child is saying, therefore you cannot call it Gira, speech. It is only words. On the other hand, speech gives some meaning. This is Gira, speech. Out of these, God says that he is the single syllable. God says that He is the Pranav Mantra Om. Why is this? First of all, when we say Gira speech, then there are many words that give meaning to something. If you get the dictionaries of every language, then every language has words with meanings. Yet the Lord says that the Omkar is His Vibhuti, His divine manifestation, because the Omkar is a word that means the Supreme Soul. If you do hear the Omkar, then you do not get any other meaning, you only get the meaning of Supreme Truth. All our words give different meanings. The word paperweight has given another meaning, and it has no other meaning apart from this. The word book has another meaning. The word harmony has another meaning. The word drums has another meaning. But Om is such a word that it describes only the Supreme Soul. That is why the Lord says that the Omkar is His Vibhuti, His divine manifestation. The Supreme Soul has two forms. The Sagun Satar, that which has a form and qualities, and the Nirgun Nirakar, that which is formless and without qualities. For the Sagun Satar, that with a form and qualities, God has many names. We do chanting the name of God of so many names of God. Hari Tara Nam Chejar, Kainam Ti Lapi Kamkotri. Hari God, you have 1,000 names. Which name shall I write the invitation to you? You can call God Sri Ram, Sri Krishna, Shiva, Mataji, Vishnu, and so many others. God has an infinite amount of names. All of these names are of the Sagun Sakar, that which had a form and qualities. But when worship begins of the Supreme Soul, who is Nirgun Nirakar, that which is formless and without qualities, and the Satchitanand Gun Brahma who is existence, wisdom and bliss, then there is only one name. This is because the Nirgun Nirakar, that which is formless without qualities, is indescribable. He has no name. If one is Nirakar, then what name can he have? You can have no name. I have to say within the limits of language that Nirgun Nirakar, that which is formless and without qualities, cannot have a name, and yet the name that he has is the Omkar. The Omkar signifies the unmanifested form of the Lord, who is Nirgun Nirakar, that which is formless and without qualities. This is the meaning of the Omkar. On chanting the Pranav Mantra, the Om, one attains the Supreme Soul. This is the experience of everyone that has chanted the Omkar. One who chants the Omkar cannot go without attaining the Supreme Soul. The reason for this is that the name and the named are the same. There is no difference between the name and the named. Just like you say Chadalal, and Chadalal immediately replies, yes, what is it? In the same way, when you say Om, then it creates a bridge with the Supreme Truth. Always Nirgun Nirakar, that which is formless without qualities. You are creating a bridge. This is the Omkar. I analyzed the Omkar in the 8th chapter and also elsewhere, so I won't repeat what I said in the 8th chapter, but I will say a few things further about the Omkar. When a person on the path of the Supreme Soul becomes one and turns toward the path of Aparaksha Anubhuti, the direct experience, then she gets a divine experience and feels as if the chanting of the Omkar keeps happening by itself from within. Then devotee does not need to chant the Omkar with her mouth. The chanting of Omkar keeps happening by itself from within when one goes on the path of Aparaksha Anubhuti, the direct experience. You may have heard that people living material life cannot do penances on the path of Omkar. This is partly right and partly wrong. The reason why they say that someone living in a material life should not chant the Omkar is that when a human being begins to perform penances on the path of the pure Omkar and to get some success in that path, and the first consequence that she gets is that worldly objects feel dull to her. Objective happiness starts to feel futile to her. The reason for this is that an ordinary person sees happiness in material objects and sees pleasures in material objects because the mind seeks pleasures in these material objects. The mind is attracted to something on the outside. If I watch a television program for 30 minutes and I get a lot of pleasure out of it, then it's because the mind is running there and the mind is running somewhere outside. But once a person turns on the path of the Aparaksha Anubhuti, direct experience, and begins getting the experience of Omkar for the inside, then that person's mind does not run towards the outside. The reason for this is that bliss begins to come from the inside. The mind basically wants happiness. The mind wants to go and seek onto somewhere because this will give pleasure to the mind. When a person's mind begins to get experience of the Omkar, then the mind no longer needs to go outside. The pleasures and happiness that were coming from the outside now become futile. This is because she is getting the happiness she wanted from within. There is no reason for the mind to go out. Now because the mind did not go outside, the attraction of objective happiness automatically walks away. The person does not need the outside happiness, it just becomes released from her. Outside happiness begins to feel futile. It is just like when the child is young and like playing with dolls. When the child is 5 and the dolls are very interesting to her, But now she has turned the age of 25, and now she has her own child, then she does not play with dolls anymore. This interest automatically wilts away. In the same way, when one begins to get bliss from within, then worldly objects feel futile to her. The bliss from inside is so much that activities on the outside feel tasteless to her. And what does this person do? This is a very high state of bliss. One moment even comes where even the body is no longer needed. When the person needs to eat, drink, wear clothes, fulfill societal duties, etc., then all of this feels like a burden to her. This is just like the reaction of a child who does not want to eat because it is engrossed in playing, and then the child's mother comes and puts food in the child's mouth. In the same way, when such a person is performing activities in the material world, and so her life does not become dull, she has so much compassion because she has reached such a high state that she feels that if her life goes like this, then it will not matter to her because she's accumulating bliss from the inside, but the people around her will lose interest in life. Know that the people around her will not have reached the spiritual state where she has reached, and that is why she is frustrated by the whole thing. What then? Try to make efforts to understand her state. This person is herself experiencing bliss from the inside. She does not like to go outside anywhere. She does not like wearing new clothes. She does not like going to see films. She does not like going to hotels to have dinner. And she does not get bliss from anything on the outside because she is contented from the inside. Then what do the people in her house, including her husband, her children, and her parents, as well as her friends who are close to her, do? They have not yet reached the state. This person takes interest in life for the people around her. It is for them. It is so that they can get satisfaction. I've seen in many families that the father does not have much interest in wearing stylish clothes, but his 12 or 15-year-old daughter keeps telling him, "Father, we have to go to these people's weddings reception, and therefore you should wear this suit." The father replies, "Fine, daughter, you're saying this, and so I'll wear it. Otherwise, I would have gone there wearing a plain suit." The father himself has no interest in wearing the suit. 6 months have gone, and he has not worn a suit. It has been dangling on the hanger in his wardrobe. But he is wearing the suit because his daughter has asked him to. The daughter will do it, therefore the father is wearing the suit. A person outside the house may say that he's wearing a suit after 6 months, but he has not worn the suit himself. He's worn it, so his daughter will be happy. The person maintains his interest in one object after another. I remember an example from the life of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Has everyone heard of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Guru of Swami Vivekananda? He had a lot of interest in eating. He very much liked eating like a young child. From 10 a.m. in the morning, he would pace around inside his kitchen. He was asked, "Sharda Devi, is the food ready? Is the food ready? What have you made to eat?" He very much liked to eat. And this is when everyone had come, and his pupils included Narendra, who went on to become Swami Vivekananda, Kakka, and many other good students who were intelligent and were all sitting there. And suddenly, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa would get up and ask, "What is there to eat today?" Conversations about spirituality were going on, and he would suddenly say, "What is there to eat today?" One time, Sharada Devi said, "You are so wise, but you're still doing this. It looks so bad, you're like a young child." Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said there was a lot of intensity to Sharada Devi that on the day that I do not ask to eat, or I do not have any interest in eating, then consider that on the third day after this, my body will no longer be there. And in reality, this happened. A great saint of such a high level had kept such a great affection for food. Otherwise, there was no reason for him to last in the material world. Why else would he be in the material world? It so happened that one day, Sharada Devi had made very nice food and called for Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa to eat because he had not come to the kitchen. Sharada Devi called Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa to tell him that the food is ready. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said that he'd come later because he did not have interest in eating the food at that moment. In all those years of married life, Sharada Devi heard it for the first time that from Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa that today I have no interest in eating the food at the moment. Her heart stopped beating, and in reality after 3 days, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa left his body. This is what happens to one who performs penances on the path of the pure Omkar. Therefore those who feel that it is nice that they live a material life should not chant the Omkar. Otherwise slowly and slowly they will lose interest in the material world. It depends according to the person's qualifications. That is why Shri Krishna says that of the utterances, he is a single syllable Om. I always say that when the whole school of Indian thought churned the world, then the Vedas came. The essence of the knowledge of the whole universe is the Vedas. When the Vedas were turned, then the Gayatri Mantra came. Shri Krishna will say this later in the chapter, Gayatri Chand Asam Aham, of the meters I am Gayatri. The Gayatri Mantra became manifest. When the Gayatri Mantra was churned, then the 3 words of Bhur, Bhuva, Swaha, earth, space and heaven came, And when Bhru Swaha, earth, space and heaven were turned, then the Om card came. That is why Shri Krishna says that of utterances, the single syllable Om is his vibhuti, divine manifestation. We find this whole topic in the Upanishads. The Lord then says that of yagna, offerings, he is the japa yagnosmi, and the offering of silent meditation. The Gita said already that there are many yagnas, offerings. For example, in verse 28 of the 4th chapter, Dravya yagna stapo yagna, yogo yagna sutaparo, sabda yagna gnana yagnascha, yagaya sammasamrita. Some likewise offer as yagna the material possessions, or the austerities, or the spiritual exercises, while others of subdued minds and severe vows offer their learning and wisdom. There are many different types of yagna, offerings, but of these, japa yagna, the offering of silent meditation, is the Lord's vibhuti, divine manifestation. There is a root difference between japa yagna, the offering of silent meditation, and other yagna offerings. This is because, first of all, if you do any other type of yagna offerings, then you need manpower, you need people. Yagna offerings is a very big thing. You could do Gnan yagna, like we're doing now, the offering of knowledge. You can do Dravya yagna, the offering of material possessions, and other yagna offerings, but you need so many things. You need manpower, you need people. With japa yagna, the offering of silent meditation, no people are needed. You alone are enough. If you want to do any other type of yagna offerings, then you need wealth. You have a lot of expenses. With japa yagna, the offering of silent meditation, even that is not necessary. With other yagna offerings, you need sadhan, resources, and only then does sadhana, accomplishment, begin. On the other hand, japa yagna, the offering of silent meditation, is such that there is no need for sadhan, resources, and sadhana, accomplishment alone is enough. Sadhan resources are not needed for japa yagna, the offering of silent meditation. If I say according to what happened in the later Vedic age, then violence can happen in other types of yagna offerings, but there is no potential for violence in japa yagna, the offering of silent meditation. By violence, I'm not talking about animal sacrifices, but in a very ordinary way. For example, when you pour water, then maybe there are very small microbes and bacteria that may be killed even though we're cleaning everything. There are many benefits of yagna offerings, and I'm not an opponent of yagna offerings. In fact, I'm a beneficiary of yagna. Yagna must happen in society as we're doing right now. But the flame of the fire in the yagna, they kill very small microbes and bacteria in the atmosphere. In other types of yagnas, violence can happen, whereas in japa yagna, the offering of silent meditation, there is no violence. No violence at all happens in japa yagna, the offering of silent meditation. In japa yagna, two things, the offering of silent meditation, two things are necessary. The first is concentration, and the second is consistency. Only if these two things are there, is the japa yagna, the offering of silent meditation, can give fruits. If one performs japa yagna, the offering of silent meditation, 2 days a month, then this will not work. It should be performed consistently and continuously. Japa yagna, the offering of silent meditation, is such that once you start it, then you should not stop. Only then it is a true japa yagna, the offering of silent meditation. But people say that while performing japa yagna, the mind does not become concentrated. We say that I'm telling you to make your mind concentrated, and that it does not become concentrated. What then? I'll show you some small experiments that I've shown to you before. Some time's gone, and therefore we'll do some revision. We'll revise this short because I've spoke about the details earlier during the 6th chapter. This is how you can make your mind concentrated during japa yagna, offering of silent meditation. The first thing is that whenever you sit down to perform japa yagna, then 4 or 5 times exhale with force. Do it 4 or 5 times. What will happen from this? That it will be as if you're cleaning the process and emptying the mind on the inside. After doing this, begin the japa, the silent meditation. Then you will begin with a fresh mind. Secondly, while doing these exhalations with force, resolve that you're taking the material world, the samsara, out of yourself. Third, when you're performing japa and chanting a mantra, then there should be no empty time between chanting 2 mantras. For example, let us say you're chanting the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and you should keep chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, without any gaps in between. You should chant each mantra immediately after the other. If any time goes in between, the mind will jump. No time should go between the japa, the chanting of the 2 mantras. Fourth, in japa, if there is any rhythm, then it is easy and natural to make the mind concentrated. The majority of mantras for japa are both short and have a rhythm. Fifth, at the beginning when you are making efforts to make the mind concentrated, the state will later come automatically when you reach the peak of japa, So this is just for the beginning. Then you should make efforts to listen to the jap, the chanting. It is not enough just to chant the mantra. Try to listen to it also, because it will help you concentrate your mind. This is when we ourselves listen to our own jap chanting. Listen to your own jap chanting. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Make efforts to do this, and you'll feel as if it's very straightforward to make your mind one-pointed. There is also another small experiment that saints show us. Once do the chanting of the mantra loudly, and then the next time do it softly. Do it once loudly, and then the next time do it softly. Chant it once with your mouth, and then chant it in your mind. Then chant it again with your mouth, and then chant it in your mind. If you keep alternating the chanting, then the mind will remain occupied and will become concentrated. Chant it once with your mouth, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now chant it once in your mind, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now chant it once with your mouth, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now chant it once in your mind, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Keep doing this, and you'll feel like the jap chanting in the mind is an echo of the jap chanting with the mouth, and that we're listening to the echo. When we do this, then concentration becomes very natural and straightforward. When the mind goes to other thoughts, then the moment when we become aware that the mind is run, then what should we do? We should blink the eyelids 4 or 5 times. When we blink the eyelids, then what will happen is that the vision breaks psychologically. When this vision breaks, then the flow of thoughts also breaks, and therefore the mind that went outside comes back inside. This is because the mind went with the flow of thoughts, and when this flow of thoughts breaks, the mind comes back inside. Blink your eyelids 4 or 5 times. The importance of jap chanting is indescribable. In jap chanting of a mantra, 3 things are necessary. Number 1, clear pronunciation. Number 2, knowledge of the meaning. And number 3, a steady mind. Number 1, clear pronunciation. Number 2, knowledge of the meaning. And number 3, a steady mind. If these 3 are not there, then the chanting will not yield fruits. Whatever mantra you're doing for jap, the pronunciation must be clear. Kala Vala Hari Narala Rajan Machal Mantra Mana Chale. That is why these 2 things are there at the beginning. Clear pronunciation and knowledge of the meaning. Psychologically speaking, jap chanting acts as an auto-suggestion. When one chants the mantra, Shri Krishna Sharam Mama, then this means that Shri Krishna is protecting me. Shri Krishna is my resort, and I am at the feet of Shri Krishna. One should know this meaning. When we do this jap chanting, then we are reassuring our mind again and again and again that the Lord is protecting me, the Lord is protecting me. One should know the meaning of jap chanting. These 2 things of clear pronunciation and knowledge of the meaning are the reasons why jap chanting of a mantra brings fruits. A guru is necessary for a mantra. A guru gives initiation of mantra. The guru shows us correct pronunciation of mantra and gives us knowledge of the meaning of the mantra. Because of the guru, we find out what the meaning of the mantra is. If one does not have clear pronunciation, then instead of chanting Putram Dehi, he may chant Kutram Dehi. If one does not know the meaning, then he will not know what he's saying, and it will just be like the cat who is told, Ram Ram Ojye, Lili Out Avjita Bhagye. Keep chanting the name of Ram, and if a cat comes, then run away. And keep chanting, and the cat came and ate it, yet you're still chanting Ram Ram Ojye, Lili Out Bhagye. Keep chanting the name of Ram, and if a cat comes, then run away. If the parrot knew the meaning, then it would have seen the cat had come and it would have run away. But the parrot kept saying, if a cat comes, then run away. It's meaningless. Thirdly, the mind should be steady. This is very necessary. No other thoughts should be in the mind. When we sit down to perform jap, chanting the name of God, then so many thoughts come to our minds. All thoughts of the world come exactly at that time. A person once told me that 2 places are very good to have all the thoughts. First, when you go to the bathroom, and second, when one is sitting in front of God. I told him, are you really comparing these 2? When you're sitting in front of God, and when you're sitting to clear the dirt from the inside in the morning, he said, whenever we're alone, then we can think about whatever we want. I told him to do that in the bathroom, and it will not matter, but do not do it here in front of God. But at that time, most of the thoughts of the world come to our minds. While performing jap chanting the name of God, the mind should remain steady. You should catch your mind and bring it back. Jap chanting the name of God can never be done quickly. The more you make efforts to bring pace to jap chanting the name of God, then the more that the mind will run far away from jap chanting the name of God. It cannot be done in a rush. This is because jap chanting the name of God is there to make the mind calm. Many people create so much tension for themselves that they get tension from jap chanting the name of God. They try to finish off quickly. Even if you chant the mantra 10 times, then it will be fine. In Gujarat, and in particular North Gujarat, there is a phrase jap kar, meaning hurry up. Jap kar really means calm down. The root goal of japa, chanting the name of God, is so that the mind can become calm and concentrated. I used to give the example of a person who told Guruji that he performed a lot of worships of the Gayatri Mantra. Guruji told him, really, what do you do for worship of the Gayatri Mantra? He told Guruji that he performs japa, chanting the Gayatri Mantra. Guruji told him that's very nice because the Gayatri Mantra is a Maha Mantra, the greatest of the mantras, and it is truly great. Guruji asked him what penance he does, and he told Guruji that every day he performs 108 mara, which is having 108 prayer beads while chanting a mantra. Guruji told him that this is impossible. How can one possibly perform 108 mara of the Gayatri Mantra in one day? The Gayatri Mantra is so big and very long for a mantra. Om Bhurbo Swaha Tatsavikvaredim Bhagore Pasati Mahi Diyoyo Nakchotiyat. Meaning, we meditate on Ishvara's Pratyaksha Narayan Sibo, i.e. the sun's glory, who has created the universe, who is fit to be worshipped, who is the embodiment of knowledge and light, who is the remover of all sins and ignorance. May he illuminate, enlighten our entire universe's intellects. After this mantra is chanted, then the above meaning of it comes to one's mind. The plural is used for diyo, meaning our intellects, and then the mind should not move on to other thoughts. Then one prayer bead is completed, and one turns the prayer bead. When 108 such beads are completed, then 108 mara, turning prayer beads while chanting the mantra, is completed. This person said that he completes 108 of such maras every day. How can one believe this? When you begin this, then it takes half an hour to perform japa of one mara of Gayatri Mantra. Just 100 prayer beads, it takes half an hour. It takes a minimum of 50 minutes. After one mara is completed, 4 maras can be completed in 1 hour. To perform 108 maras of the Gayatri Mantra, you need 27 hours. There are 24 hours in a day. Guruji told him, clever man, how do you perform 108 maras in one day? He told Guruji, you keep doing the calculations. I do perform 108 maras in one day. In fact, I can do them in 10 minutes. Guruji said, 10 minutes? You perform 108 maras, 108 times 100 prayer beads to make one mara in 10 minutes. He replied, no, I mean it. I do 108 maras. Guruji asked him how he did it. He told Guruji, it's very simple. I say the mantra once, very fast, at 100 miles per hour, then I keep saying ditto, 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 ditto. Guruji told him, okay person, you're performing mara of ditto and not the Gayatri Mantra. If you have 10 minutes, and even if you perform one mara, then perform it of the Gayatri Mantra, then it will make some difference in your life. Can your life change by chanting ditto? Tat mana naka gaya. The honor of chanting the mantra is gone. If you do not perform mara properly, then nothing will happen. Japa is a very important thing. Manu Bhadan says in the Manusmriti that Vidiyagna chapa yagno vishishto tasvakunai upanna suryat gunna sahasa manasasmuta. An offering by chanting the name of God is 10 times greater than an offering by rites. Whispering the name of God is 100 times greater, and chanting the name of God in your mind is 1,000 times greater. I repeat that. An offering by chanting the name of God is 10 times greater than an offering by rites. Whispering the name of God is 100 times greater, and chanting the name of God in your mind is 1,000 times greater. You should chant the name of God slowly. Upanshu japa means to chant the name of God in such a way that you're murmuring or whispering. It is when a person next to you should not be able to hear. Mental japa, chanting the name of God, is 1,000 times greater. Kabira man nirmal bhaya, chisse ganga nir, pache pache hari hire, kahat khat kabir. Kabir washed his mind clean, like the holy Ganga river. Then Lord Hari followed behind, saying Kabir, Kabir. There is another saying in Hindi literature, in Hindi culture, he would never hold prayer beads in his hands, and he would not do anything. He would never do service, rituals, or puja worship. A person asked him, why do you never do any of this? We have never seen you holding a prayer beads in your hands. Why is this? The poet gave a very beautiful reply. Mara chapu na kar japu, jibya na kahu na ram, sumira mera harake ab me payo visham. I do not turn the prayer beads, and I do not chant the name of God. I do not say Ram with my tongue. In fact, Hari, God, turns prayer bead of me, and I only rest. Now he has reached such a state where God remembers him, and he only rests. This is a great state. The scriptures say, Tata shanta tare dhyanam, dhyana shanta sare japam. If a person gets tired while performing japa, chanting the name of God, then the person should meditate on that form of the personal God of that mantra. If the person gets tired while performing meditation, or the mind starts running during meditation, and the one-pointedness of the mind is broken, then you should perform japa, chanting the name of God again. This is the involvement that the person should maintain. Dhyan meditation gives a lot of help after performing jap, chanting the name of God. In reality, jap is a pre-introduction to dhyan. A lot of people make fun of jap, and I've seen such people. They say, why do you chant Ram, 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 Ram? Rather than that, why don't you chant Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola? They say such things. They say, if you can chant Ram, 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 then do you attain Ram? In the same way, if I chant Coca-Cola, 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 then I should get Coca-Cola. Such stupid people won't get it. What kind of argument are they making? So-called clever people are making such arguments. There is the basic flaw in the logic. The reason why one can attain Ram after chanting Ram, 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 Ram is because Ram is living and Ram is consciousness. And you cannot get Coca-Cola but after chanting Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, because Coca-Cola is matter. How can you get Coca-Cola? And Ram is the consciousness from which I have become manifested, and a consciousness that is dancing inside me. This is the consciousness that I am chanting about and calling to. I am calling myself with a capital S through jap. I am finding myself. I am making efforts to recognize myself when I am performing jap. This is because Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, I am God, but I have forgotten this, and that is why I am remembering it. He is not going to come from somewhere else, he is inside me. I am removing the dirt so that I can find him. That is why the Lord becomes manifest. Shri Krishna then says that of unmovable things, he is the Himalaya. Himalaya is his vibhutis, divine manifestation. The Himalaya is steady. The Himalaya has become a very important steadiness, not just in India, but in the world. Shri Krishna counts the Himalaya as his vibhuti, his divine manifestation. The Guruji, when he was writing this, he had come having recently attained the company of two people. The first is the Himalaya, and the second is the Gangaji. There was a holy discourse in Haridwar during the Kumbh Mela, a holy pilgrimage where devotees gather at the river Ganga. He'd come back having seen the Himalaya, and he also came back having seen Ganga Mata. Shri Krishna will describe the Gangaji later in the chapter in two classes, and he will say that Shrutta Samasmi Kanavi, or rivers and the Ganga. Even when Guruji went to Rishikesh, then he saw the first mountains of the Himalaya, Himālaya. Himalaya Nam Nagadi Raja. If one has faith in their heart, then it is very nice, but if one does not have to have faith in their heart, and if a person doesn't have faith in their heart, then such a person, if that person sees the Himalaya just once, then he will not come back like he was. If one has faith, then it's another thing altogether. Shri Krishna says that the Himalaya is his vibhuti, his divine manifestation. Next verse.